And we are live. Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to the e-NABLE Town Hall meeting for January 8th, 2016. Happy New Year. It's been a while since we've had a town hall meeting, since Christmas Day and New Year's Day both fell on a Friday. So I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season and are ready to go with the new year. I'm still typing 2015 on just about everything, so hopefully I'll get into the right year eventually. Town Hall is a weekly Google Hangout on air where team leads and community members are able to update the community on what's been happening. I'm Justine Diamond, your host for this week's meeting. Please remember that you can ask questions to any of our speakers through the Q&A feature in Google Hangouts. You'll find the Q&A at the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Just click on the little grid of 9 boxes. If you're watching on certain devices, such as an iPad or a phone, you may find that you can't access the Q&A. Questions can be posted to the event page in the comment section. We monitor both as we go on and try to answer those questions as best we can. If we're not able to answer a question during town hall, we try to answer it in the comments on the event post after the fact. Town hall is about community. It's great when people are able to share what they're doing locally with the larger community. If there's something you'd like to share with the community at an upcoming town hall, or if there's someone you think should speak based on the work they're doing, please let me know. You can leave me a comment on my G+ page, or you can email me at events.enable@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to try and schedule people to come on or see what we can do. So what's been happening? Well, you can find the calendar on the community site as well as on the foundation site, which John will be talking about soon. If you're hosting an e-NABLE event, please be sure to let me know so I can add it to the calendar. If you hear about an event you think the community should have a presence at, drop me a line as well, and I'll see what I can do to get someone organized to be there. If you're interested in being at an event or a maker fair and would like some assistance in getting that organized, that's another reason to get in touch. As a matter of fact, I'm just putting the final touches on a facilitator's guide that has some very quick information to help people pull together what they would need to run an event. And that should be released into the wild very soon. At our last meeting, you might remember that I talked about Google's video for the year in searches, which featured Stephen Davies and Drew Murray's wonderful arm. As a matter of fact, they released the designs very quickly after that. I apologize for the ringing phone. They released the designs for that, and we here actually printed one. And I believe we have the distinction of that arm being the first one in the wild, so to speak. The arm that the two of them have designed, I think, is a wonderful design. If you are familiar with thermoforming and you are familiar with putting together a phoenix hand, it doesn't take much more effort or time printing to put one of these together. So I'm very excited about that. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And we are in the process, I believe, in arranging to get one of those arms up to Skip at RIT so that he can have a look at it and compare it to some of the stuff that he's doing with the Sporty Terminal device. So I'm going to start today off. We've got a special guest here today, and that's Akil. Akil is a student at Rice University, and last summer he was one of our interns in our pilot internship fellowship program. He did some absolutely amazing work on the Raptor Reloaded hand, essentially redesigning it and creating a new hand that he's dubbed the Owl hand. It's something he addressed a lot of issues that I am particularly excited about, but I am not going to steal his thunder, so I am going to pass this over to him. I will say that trying to get all of our interns, I believe there were 5, into Town Hall to present their work. And we are working, Marla Parkin and I are working on putting up detailed information about all of the interns and the really great work that they did, which hopefully will be on the foundation website very quickly. And in addition, we will be opening up applications such for the for coming internships for the coming year. So look out for that. We'll have some announcements on that very soon. But right now, I'm going to hand this over to Akil. You're muted though, Akil. You have to unmute.
Uh, okay, can everyone hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. So the basic idea, the ideas that I tried to address in my internship were ideas proposed by a hand surgeon at a Shriners Hospital. So Dr. Gloria Gagola proposed a certain features that she would want to see improved in e-NABLE hands. And so, like, I'll just briefly list them out to see if, and then I'll talk about how I sort of address them. So the first feature is that she emphasized the idea of natural wrist tenodesis. So that means that the e-NABLE hands would essentially close the opposite of how they do currently. So like instead of closing when the wrist is flexed, they close. She wanted them to close when the wrist is extended, and this is important because like when you're riding a bike and for other activities like that, it doesn't make sense to like ride a bike when you're holding your hands down in this position. It makes sense to ride your bike while still you can even use the handlebars to brace your hands in the correct position, and 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 so apparently this has a lot of physiological meaning, and so that was one issue that we tried to address. The second thing that we tried to address was having an opposable thumb. Now, it turns out that as I was continuing my internship, there had been a lot of work on the Phoenix hand and things like that. And so that was one improvement on the opposable thumb. And I wanted to see if I could make my own version with the Raptor Reloaded hand. Additionally, we looked at different mechanisms to basically help patients hold objects. And I know it's a very general term, but we basically looked at like mechanisms that'll lock the hand in place so that if they're holding an object for a very long time, then it becomes easier to do so, as in that they don't have to continually exert force for them to do that. Lastly, we looked at ways to like integrate the Whipple tree into existing hands, and I was able to use Jason Bryant's gripper box design to that effect. And this is mainly important because we could toggle between certain grips, so you'd be able to toggle between spherical and a cylindrical grip based on the object that you hold. So I just want to briefly show you what I designed over the summer and then how we've improved on it over the course of last semester and where we are right now. So screen share. Let's see. Okay. So you should be able to see, okay, you should be able to see my GitHub. So I basically posted all the design files. I posted some videos on how the hand works onto GitHub. So you'll be able to see all the designs there. But as you can, so this was what I made over the summer. The goal was to make a proof of concept hand for all of these different features that I talked about. So it still has the existing Raptor Reloaded thumb, and I put it there so you can see the difference between that thumb design and the thumb design that I designed here. As you can see, it's the thumb hinge is on the bottom, and you can simply plug in the existing components right there, and you tie off using a black elastic cord, and that would tie off to this box right here. So that was the improvement that we made with the thumb. Additionally, if you want to look at the locking mechanism, how it works is that it's a combination of two things. So as you can see on this right side, you have this gear-looking like indent, and if you look at in the gauntlet, you have a space right. You have another extension right here where it has a square hole. So how it works is that you have a pin that would fit directly into this indent, and the pin could go in or the pin could go out. And when the pin goes in, that means that it has a square shape on the back. So the square shape would mesh with the square shape here, and so the hand wouldn't be able to rotate. And and to allow the hand to rotate, you simply disengage the pin. So that's how we developed the locking mechanism, and we're able to show a proof of concept associated with that as well. Additionally, the most important thing I think is the reverse tenodesis, the natural wrist tenodesis that we had emphasized. And so as you can see here, there are 4 sets of holes in the bottom. So what happens is that once you put the proximal phalange into the existing slot, you could simply draw the thread into one of these 4 holes, and it would come out of the bottom along the sides. So you have channels along the sides, come out the bottom, and you could tie it off onto a gauntlet that it's actually going to show here. Okay, can you see the new screen that I shifted to? Hello?
Yes, I think we
Okay,
can.
great.
Oh, now we see all the screens.
Okay, great. Okay.
And now it's
So,
the one gray gauntlet.
great. Okay, so this is the gauntlet design, and it actually has 2 sides. And I'll talk about that briefly afterwards. But basically, you put the gauntlet onto the existing hand, and so you could tie it off. You could tie off the string to a gripper box design on the bottom that would go right here. The reason why we have 2 sides shown here is because we were experimenting with the idea of having like a dual rotation flexion. So in a sense, you'd be able to close the hand by extending or flexing the wrist. And so you could have 2 sets of fishing lines, ones that go over on the top of the hand in the same way that the Raptor Reloaded is supposed to work, and ones that go along the bottom like I just talked about. So if you tie it off correctly, the idea is that you should be able to extend and flex the hand in order to close it. And this is important because you can have like some motions in which a flexion of the wrist is more natural, and some motions in which extension of the wrist is more natural. So those were the main sort of design features that we had worked on over the summer. And I want to talk about where they are right now. So what we did after that was try to see, oh, and just one more thing. This gauntlet actually opens and closes. So as you can see by the rotation here, it basically opens and closes around the patient's hand. So this allows the patient to easily fit their hand inside and just close the gauntlet around. And you can tie some Velcro between this end and this end right there. So I just want to talk about where we are right now in terms of these hands. So we did some testing, some development and testing over the course of last semester, and we figured out that the first thing is that the locking mechanism is not working that great. The main problem is that the pin, for some reason, just snaps into place when you don't want it to, and when that happens, you can't close the hand, or you can't really work the hand as you want. So we decided that, like, for right now, we decided to put the pin feature on pause, and if we can think of anything that's more useful than that works better, then we're going to go with that. The next thing that we did is that the next key discovery that we made is that the natural wrist tenodesis, as I talked about earlier, with the strings going off on the sides, that doesn't really, well, it works, but you can't get full closure, so it doesn't work as well. And the reason is that as the strings make this like right angle turn around the palm, you'll eventually have drag, and that causes friction, and so you lose a lot of tension that way. So like where we are in terms of development is that we want to basically use the flexi hand too, and use that because it has a feature on the bottom of the palm as well. And so it has some plastic on the bottom of the palm. Apologies for the phone. It has some features on the bottom of the palm that you'll be able to put some string in some holes alongside the bottom, and then you can tie off to a gauntlet on the bottom. So this prevents the problem of having pins going along the sides. Hold on, let me just go stop the phone for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yes, I as well forgot to unplug my phone before I started town hall today.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's pretty much where we are right now. I'm open to any questions that you guys have that I can clarify.
Okay. Anybody here? Andreas, John, Drew, Melina, Rich. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, I'm unmuting myself.
Okay.
Um, Akil, would you, uh, sorry, I'm trying to also unshare my screen. There you go. Would you do me a favor and do something like this to show, I think you're saying that the hand,
Yeah, so the hand would close like this.
okay,
Yeah,
and
that's the goal.
not close like this.
Right. Well, if we had the dual rotation flexion, then the hand would close like this, and it would close like this. But but that's more of an experimental thing that we're
It's a
still working.
very interesting concept. Um, okay, cool. And Drew has been, actually, you know, is Drew on the call? Drew was,
He is.
I've been showing some of his imagery, but if he's on the call, he can also talk about his own experience with the locking mechanism.
We'll see. Drew, if you're there, you're still muted. But I know Drew's traveling, so he might have some connectivity. We kind
That's
of
right. He
losing
says
you.
he's at the train station. Anyway, what he says is that he's been playing with something very similar, which retrofits to a non-modified hand. And he and some other people have been thinking about a, you know, a ballpoint mechanism style
Yep.
mechanism where I guess one click locks it and one click unlocks it.
Yep.
But
So if
he's
we were,
still
yeah.
mostly working on proof of concept.
Yes, so if we were going to like go with the locking mechanism, that's probably what we try to do. And over the course of the semester, you know, like we took apart pens to see how that worked and all kinds of stuff there. But the goal is to find some sort of like a clicking mechanism that can engage and disengage the lock when we want it to. I think it's as simple as having some springs all around the interface, and then when you're not engaged, the springs will keep the lock away.
Or by default, it's locked, and when you want to unlock it, you pull it out and you rotate it to a position, for example, where it's held away from the ratchets. I
Mm.
have something in my head, but I'd be really pleased to talk to you about it.
Okay, great.
We're also thinking about ratchet mechanisms for a somewhat passive arm, where you get to, you know, you lift the arm, but then you would like it to lock into a particular position.
Right.
So I think ratchets are in our future, or locks are in our future.
Yeah, they
So this is
definitely
very
are. And like one thing I realized when working with ratchets, I spent a good amount of time working with that. I realized that it's really flimsy, as in if you print it just on the side, depends on the size that you print at, but it's because in order for the ratchet to work, the piece itself has to flex and bend as it moves around. At least that was the way that I designed it, and I'll show you some files afterwards. But the piece would have to like flex and bend as it moved alongside the pawl, and so intrinsically it became flimsy. And I decided to go with, instead of having a ratcheting mechanism, decided to have a locking mechanism there.
right. I see. So the ratchet that you're showing is actually just historical. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
Ah, now it makes sense. Okay. So then right. So by the way, a square has 4 possible locking positions at 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
A hex, etc. But as you add the number of sides to the polygon, it approaches a circle, and now you've got no grip. So
Right.
I have some ideas as to how you can have many more positions without falling into non-grip. But let's not do the actual problem solving during the hangout. It's very exciting, Akil.
Okay, great. Yeah, like I'd love to connect with you on that one.
Okay. Other questions? It looks like I have a feeling Andreas is moving his lips, but I think he wants to be unmuted at the same time.
Andres, I don't think we can hear you.
He's working on it. We'll
Okay,
get
cool.
back to him.
Okay.
That's how I interpret his hand gestures. So, Akil, you did this in whose lab where?
So I was working at Rice University at Professor Jordan Miller's lab. So
Right.
he's working on like a 3D printed stuff, and his goal is he's working mainly with like tissues and things like that. But one of the projects he has is working in collaboration with e-NABLE and
Right.
Shriners Hospital.
Right. And this, right, and Gloria Gogola
Yeah.
also. And I'm really pleased to hear that you're working with her. And
She's
this
awesome.
work is continuing this semester and the coming semester
Yeah.
as an independent study or something else?
Well, last semester I took it as a course credit, but I think I'm going to continue doing that as well.
And you do your modeling in Fusion?
hmm Although
Terrific.
this semester, I mean, over the break, I've been looking at using Blender, mainly because I've been trying to edit the existing FlexiHand to STLs. And as far as I know, Fusion, it's hard to convert STLs to anything that you can edit. You can convert to BREP, but you have to you have to like minimize the number of triangles, and you lose resolution and things like that.
Right. Okay. Have you gotten your audio fixed?
Andres?
Are
Trying again.
we
Oh,
looking at a live mic, Andreas, or a
whoops.
silent Andreas? Okay, well,
He said that we should continue this discussion in the R&D
Right.
forums about ratchets.
there we go.
That's probably a
Okay.
good idea.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Let me see if there are any
Sure,
questions in the
Andres.
Q&A. There are not. So if we have no other questions for Akil, Rich, are you ready, or you still need a couple? I think you still need a couple of minutes because you were busy till 12:30. So John, why don't we pass it over to you?
Okay. How I spent my winter vacation. After Autodesk University, it was the end of that grueling sketch of travel. But in fact, I spent a lot of so-called vacation time working on our new website, which I will now attempt to share with you all by clicking here. Okay, so here is our new website. Marla Parker has been championing this thing for months, and we've also been working with a PR firm whose extraordinary help we will celebrate as soon as they give us permission to celebrate. It's got a number of interesting features. You'll notice that on the front page there's a fun story about a particular case, and that will rotate over time. It's got this basic need a hand, build a hand, lend a hand motif, which enablingthefuture.org has adopted. This website, enablecommunityfoundation.org, has been live for a month, but we haven't told anyone about it. People have been going to it, and the community should now know all about it. So that's why we're going through this drill right now. So those are sort of the high-level points. If you click on designs, we have a new and continuously improving gallery of all sorts of designs, and each design, including, I believe, on page 2, Drew and Stefan's, oh my goodness, where is it?
I think it's on page.
Well, Drew, the Isabella arm is supposed to be here, but you can
It's
click
on
on
page
any
1.
of these.
It's on page 1.
I see the Fathom Isabella arm. I don't see.
The unlimited
Oh,
arm.
the unlimited arm. There you go, right
At
there,
the top.
in a place of honor. And you can see that there's a picture gallery. And for each of these, and this is all subject to review, we have status, which in this case is evolving as we identify the license, we identify the designers, we identify printable files and parametric model files, and while they're not showing at this moment, they actually are, the links are working. I'll have to look at the style there. I will use that as an opportunity to show you that there's a work in progress tag at the bottom of every single page, and if you see something that's not working, or if you have some suggestions, please click the button and send an email to support@enablecommunityfoundation.org. If I may indulge for a moment, I'm going to show you a few things that I spent some time on over the holidays. One is I played around with the About page, and I made what I think is a really cool map of hundreds of articles about e-NABLE that have shown up around the world. And if you click on one of these links, you will go to the article, unless, of course, the link is broken. And you get the title of the article when it mouses over. And available only to those who know the URL, which is enablecommunityfoundation.org/enable-media map, is a media map that you can zoom in on and find articles. When you click on a particular article, up comes a picture and a title, and you can edit the entries to improve this. We have a whole bunch of items in need of editing in a little town called Nowhere, Oklahoma. And if you were to edit it, you can see that this one obviously should be in Liverpool, England. And so I am going to, I've already corrected this one. And through a process which is still a work in progress, that will then update its location on the map. There are lots and lots of things and more to come on this website, including information about the Handomatic, which information will be updated very soon, especially because Andreas, to whom I will turn momentarily, is going to be telling us about Handomatic. So that is a preview, if you will, of the soft-launched e-NABLE Community Foundation website. Your comments and your contributions would be greatly appreciated. Questions? Okay.
It doesn't look like we have any questions. So I think we'll give people a chance to do that, and I'm going to briefly, are you done, John, or did you have more you wanted to talk about?
No, that's it for now.
Okay, I'm going to pass for a little while over to Rich with education.
Great, thanks, Justine. Sorry, Andreas, I felt like I jumped in front of you there. Just a real quick update today, couple of 2 or 3 minutes, so we'll pass to you in a sec. I just wanted to share with the community that the education side of what we're doing here just continues to chug along marvelously. I don't have any major announcements today, but I did want to mention that we've decided to tease apart the kindergarten to 12th grade and post-secondary parts of our education initiative. And so I'm now focusing more on the K-12 piece, while Marla Parker is focusing on the post-secondary. So I don't know if we'd actually made that formal announcement, but that's happening. That's been great. That's allowing us to each dig a little bit deeper on those 2 different streams, which has been great. Essentially what we're doing right now is just fielding what are daily requests for involvement from educators, helping to get folks involved, and then just maintaining that community of educators that we have who are already involved. So that's an ongoing task, and it's going great. We were also asking our educators that have become involved to register with our E3 STEAM. So we have over 140 educators now formally registered, and we know there are hundreds out there who are also involved with e-NABLE who maybe haven't formally registered with us. So we're actually heading towards some larger efforts to connect educators in specific grade levels and specific formal versus informal. So if there are any educators who are listening, we would love to have you just follow the steps to registering. That is actually on the new website as well under the E3 Steam. You'll see it. There's the registration form there. Please register and get involved there, and now that will put you in our loop in terms of getting the information to you and connecting you to other educators. I also just wanted to mention we're also in the process of looking to secure some possible funding for future education efforts. So that's been an interesting world that I'm involved in now, and also Marla as well. So that's exciting to think that down the road we might actually be able to dig a little deeper in the education side. So that's great. And I think, yeah, I think that's pretty well all we have. It's an awesome. 2016 has been great. We just see an increased number of teachers looking to involve themselves. So we've got good stuff going on with education.
Okay, so that's not really the only thing, but I doubt very much that Rich would mention it. But his very good work for the e-NABLE education and the work he does for the Buck Institute and the work in his own school has gotten some attention, and he is a finalist for an educator award where the prize is, I believe, $25,000. I posted a link about it in the community, and off the top of my head, I don't have all the details handy. But we wish you, Rich, the best of luck as that continues, and we look forward to the announcement that you actually are the finalist, because I'm sure that that's going to happen.
Oh, I wish I could be that certain. So thanks, Justine. That's the organization that's funding that it's called the Allen Distinguished Educator Award. That's Paul Allen from Microsoft that has sponsored it's a STEM Innovation Award, so looking to recognize teachers from around across the U.S. who are trying to sort of push the envelope a little bit in STEM education. And I'm sure I don't have to say this, but I leaned heavily on my involvement with the e-NABLE on my application there. So certainly as that progresses, I'll share any information with the community around that. So thanks a lot for posting that. I really appreciated that.
Okay, that's great. I'm just going to check again. I haven't seen any questions. Yes, we've got a question from Jim Pompano about showing the URL for the media page, and John can probably take care of that with you. And then a question from Aurora, a newbie question. This is going to go to Melina. She says, I submitted my printed test hand. How and when will I know that I've been accepted to the program as a build volunteer?
There is a link to the submission form responses, and your results will appear there once it has been evaluated. And all of that information was just posted into the community again this morning by Justine.
Okay, that gets us up to speed on our on our questions. I'm sorry, commercials. I don't know what I'm thinking. Andres, do you want to see if we have volume for you?
Well, let's see. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Excellent. All right. Takes a full system restart. Okay. Cool. All right. So I've got a number of updates of varying size and type. First is in the middle of December, I hosted a couple of researchers from the University of Calgary who are studying e-NABLE and specifically our design process. So we're looking at the basically, I captured all of the communication that went into the design of the Raptor original. So that was about 200 odd emails, half a dozen recorded hangouts, and another half a dozen documents. So what's interesting is we have kind of the entire data set of how the Raptor team designed that geometry. So these researchers from University of Calgary are taking a look at that and, kind of assessing the question of, so we took a bunch of strangers from the internet, we put them in a kind of a virtual box and shook, and we got a design out. So how did that actually happen? Which is a pretty interesting question. So that's been exciting, and I hope to have some more updates about that work as it progresses. Let's see. After that, I'm working with Drew and Steven to parameterize the unlimited arm. As it was done in a parametric CAD tool, namely Fusion. that gives us a lot of traction to start implementing more sophisticated sizing strategies. So one of the things that I'd really like to do in 2016 is kind of shift the framework of how we talk about these devices away from scaling and towards sizing. Because once we start to talk about that, that kind of allows for a little bit more of a nuanced discussion about how these devices interface with the body. So working on parameterizing that design, another kind of benefit of the thermoform designs is that it actually makes parameterization a lot easier because a lot of the geometry is all laid out in one two-dimensional sketch. So that allows the linking of various parameters that drive each other in a much more straightforward way that actually makes what's essentially the procedural equation that generates that geometry much easier to solve. So that's pretty exciting. Third item on the list, you guys might have heard of a group called KidMob. And last year they produced an event called Superhero Cyborgs, which was I believe it was a summer workshop for children with upper limb differences to kind of learn design practices and start prototyping and developing, working with mentors to make their own prosthetics. So I was pretty excited to learn that they are actually hosting a workshop at Pier 9 at Autodesk, which is where I work. So I believe that is next weekend. So I'll be working with them, helping to facilitate some of their sessions, and one of the recipients I work with locally will also be attending, so that'll be great. After that, so I've also been doing a lot of work recently with a colleague of mine at Autodesk who I've explained some of the work that we're doing, and he got very interested in the challenge of creating a geometry configuration tool. You know, what we've been using Handomatic for. And so we've been making a lot of progress actually recently in making a kind of a next generation Handomatic that allows for pretty sophisticated sizing. So this will eliminate all of the challenges we've been having with linear scaling of the devices and losing all of those precise mechanical clearances that are designed in at that 100% scale. So we're still pretty early on in the development of that, but the new architecture for how this is being done is going to be much faster and more scalable, and we'll also have a more streamlined onboarding process for new devices. So that's pretty exciting, and I hope to have some more updates, hopefully maybe end of the month territory. And finally, kind of one of the big projects for this month is I'm organizing and hosting a small design summit here at Autodesk Pier 9. This is kind of something that grew out of a lot of discussions that the team at Autodesk University had when we had a bunch of ECF and community volunteers working together there. There's this kind of instinct to start to plan a bit more for 2016. So we're getting together a group of advisors from the Community Foundation and a group of medical professionals, getting those folks together with what's kind of turning into a growing team of pretty talented designers in the Bay Area. So we'll be meeting in another couple of weeks to kind of lay out some planning for 2016, kind of inventory all of the designs and design features and ideas that e-NABLE has generated over the past 2.5 years. Talk about productionizing some of these ideas, basically getting them out of R&D and into devices that are kind of ready to be used by recipients. And the main thing I'm excited about is we've done quite a bit of work in the hand space, so working with kind of relatively narrow set of the presentations of amniotic band syndrome. And if we look at kind of the global population of people with limb differences, most limb differences are lower limb. Of the remaining fraction that are upper limb, most are transulnar and transradial. Of the remaining fraction that are neither lower limb transulnar or transradial, there's quite a variety there, and we're actually only working with a very small percentage of global limb differences. So there's this interesting question that that Jeff Aronson really kind of drove home during a lot of these informal discussions at AU, which is, what is the right problem to solve? What is the most impactful problem to solve? So we're going to spend some time thinking about that, and ideally what we'd like to walk away with is basically a design specification for a new device that solves a truly impactful problem that affects a lot of people globally. So. So we're going to be covering a lot of ground during this 2-day workshop, and I'm really excited about sharing out a lot of the results of that. And that is my slew of updates.
That is a slew of updates. Just as we have had the website out for a bit, but haven't announced it until today, I don't think we've announced that Andreas has joined our board of advisors, and
yeah, I guess we have.
and we're just really happy about that. And it's a bunch of really creative and great work that you're doing. I'm sorry I'm not going to be there.
Yeah, no, we'll document thoroughly.
Well, frankly, just having a fly-on-the-wall webcam would be really, really interesting. I know a lot of it is people hunched over their computers, but a lot of that would be really very interesting, and the Calgary group would love to have that video record also, so I hope you'll think about that.
Yeah. I'll set up something to record the proceedings. Yeah. Any questions about any of those five things I talked about?
Well, the one thing is Andreas actually has joined the board of directors. He's been an advisor for a while, but John, he's on the board of the foundation at this point, and we're very happy.
That's right.
That's very good news.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited too.
Drew, unfortunately, is on a train and about to probably hit some tunnels, so we're going to try and bring him and hopefully Stephen as well in next week. Stephen's wife they just had a baby, so that's wonderful news, but as you all know, that's very busy. So hopefully we will have them come. John Diamond and I posted pictures of the arm that we printed in the community, and I do hope to have some updates about what we're possibly doing with Skip in the coming up. I do not see any additional questions in the queue. So unless anybody has anything else to add, that's going to wrap us up for this week a little early, which is good. Does anybody have anything else? If not, we'll see everybody next week. And until then, happy printing. Bye-bye, everybody.